but it looks like it's much smoother now from what I can see, which is perfect. That was pretty rough. I was creeping along between 0 and 80 kbps. I felt like I was back in 1995 dialing in. So hopefully this is now corrected. So the first part of the stream, if you get two separate feeds from this, was just kind of going over where I'm at with everything. We're talking about the chat last night a little bit and discussing the new video that's up on YouTube at the Fox and Board Games channel. I won't show any more of the video. That was rather painful to sit through while it was lagging. So let me pause that. So back over at the Fox, I should be changing this banner, this top page from the tomes to Fox and Board Games as well. I could probably do that now. But anyway, we have a new playthrough video up from this past Sunday's game, November the 6th, and that was a lot of fun. That was a good game. The first game was good too, but it was more a continuation of the introduction and people kind of getting used to their characters and all this sort of stuff. So what I was thinking about doing a little bit today is starting to work on some of the material for PAX Unplugged. In Philadelphia, we'll be running 3 sessions. Tales of the Hallowed Land. I'll probably run the same scenario 3 times. If I get the other scenario that I would like done to a point of completion, the other short play, I will run that as well. But I'm leaning towards simply doing the same scenario 3 times throughout the weekend, 3 separate slots, where I have kind of a stock set of characters. It's the Blood Out of Bondage scenario, which is, I consider, kind of the real intro scenario to the world, into the game. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I'm hoping, if nothing else, to meet some people and talk about the game and get myself out there a little bit. So it's been 3 years delayed. I thought I'd be doing this in 2019. Then things in 2019, I was at PAX in 2019, but I really didn't have enough to bring over. Did I go in 2019 or no? It was 2018 the last time I was at PAX. I can't recall. But in any case, I felt enough of the game formed to bring it out to a public environment. I think it's really well beyond that now. I just have to get materials together and determine what I'm going to do as far as presentation there. So I guess I'll start by making a short list there. Let's see what I got, what else I have going on today. Hello everyone. Again, I've seen a few more people pop on since I restarted the stream. Thanks for coming on or coming back if you were here for the painful latency issue. Generally, I find if I restart OBS, do a quick restart of OBS, that tends to fix things. I'll throw that up there while I'm talking. Let's see. Was I smart? And did I label all this? Yes, I labeled all this. maybe I'll get that graphic together in Photoshop, and then I'll jump over to a little bit of writing or a little bit of um, planning the game for packs. I mean, the game's already written. I've run it several times. It's the main the core scenario that I've run several times. I just have to really evaluate the characters and remake the characters. I also guess I need to get the couple things that have been pointed out as far as issues with the character sheet straightened out. Maybe that's a place to start today. It's one of those days where I feel like I have a bunch of different things to do. And I'm obviously still writing for the religion section, but I think I'm going to take a little break. Break for that. Let's see. We'll see if this is the Fox and Boar logo. Some old logos there. Keep a little vanity there. The old elder sign. Keep my old tome. I'll discard my old tome. Ooh, it's tiny. See how it scales up. Let's see. No, not that one. Sharpen on sharp mask. Got a little graphic design lesson here too. There we go. Cleaned it up a little bit. Let's see. Transparency. Fill. Color. There we go. That's what we wanted. I wish I didn't have to be the video editor, the graphic designer, the web designer, webmaster, and social media director, and author and content developer of the company at this point. But I don't have much of a choice right now. That's kind of the hazard of doing this. Doing this yourself. At least to start. Like I said, I have someone who I am working with who hopefully will be helping me at least with the social media and marketing aspect. She doesn't design games, so that's still going to be up to me. Let's see how this works. Well, apparently I have to shrink it down a little bit. Who knew? Other option. Not sure I'm gonna like how that looks, to tell you the truth. So let me do this another way. Maybe a little bit more of a, how should I put this? Solid branding. Didn't expect to do art today, but I guess I am. As I said, that's the hazard of kind of being the person who does all of it. But I think it's important to kind of unify everything, especially because I've had a couple people who are interested in discussing my work more, take a look at what I'm doing. Art, player, character art. Some more amazing art by Joseph Arsenault, longtime friend, fantastic artist. He showed me some stuff he's working on for his coursework and personal artistic development, and some of it can definitely be incorporated into Tales of the Hard Land, and we're both excited about that. I'll try to change that up. My marketing director said something really interesting. She said, your ideas are all coherent, but your branding doesn't necessarily reflect that you're working on a game publishing company. And I said, huh, that's really interesting. Because I thought it was all crystal clear. You know, it's very easy if you're in this bubble to say, oh yeah, everyone knows what I'm doing, and it's clear what I'm talking about. But it was interesting having someone looking at it objectively and saying, not really. I was like, okay, I guess that's one of the things we're going to be working on then. tube, see how it looks. Almost. A couple more adjustments. Less. I do something else. Obviously, I have to blend these a little bit. blend going on. Kick this up a little bit more. Kick it back a little bit more. There we go. You might say it's only a YouTube banner, like, you know. I'm like, yeah, but it's one of those things that people see when they first log on. Guess what? I can make the company name, even the company logo, even bigger. Try this one more time. See how it looks. Now, obviously, this is going to be evolving as the company evolves and all this other stuff. But for now, see how it looks. Just move it all up just a tiny bit. I guess I have to be more compact. So for those of you who are watching, what I'm doing is I'm kind of giving it a preview on the banner before I switch it over. Oh, don't do that. That was dumb. I don't know where it went, but that's not right. All right. I think we're there. Let's take a look.
Kinds of guards standing around.
All right, if I see him.
Yes, there we are. A bit of a redesign. Again, this is going to be an ongoing process. I just thought it might be a good idea to kind of unify the branding. And I think this was something that was being discussed in the meeting I had a week ago, a little over a week ago. I have another one this coming week. So it's a start. Again, in a perfect world, I'd like to hire someone to just do all this for me, even though I'm capable of doing it. I have done graphic design and web design as a vocation. I'm kind of at the point I just want to write. Unfortunately, until I'm a rich and famous game designer. Rich and famous game designers. Not niche sword and sorcery roleplay anyway. It'll be something I'll be doing myself. I'm wondering if maybe now I should take a look at character sheets. Because that's something I've gotten a lot of feedback on as the players have been playtesting with physical character sheets, which are, of course, different than having a digital sheet that you just reference. Let's see. So I'll pull up the InDesign. I also really need to do a quick reference guide. I think that's like the biggest stuff that I have to do in terms of prepping for the convention, is to get all the materials that I'm going to hand players very coherent. Should probably do some color prints of them too to make them look nice. Let's see. InDesign is just this clunky machine. It works, but it seems so dated in some ways. One of the comments I had, because fatigue, especially when casters start pushing their magic and gaining fatigue, which is something we or hadn't really fatigue wounds, which we hadn't really seen happen in the former playtest, but it's definitely happened a couple times in the current playtest, and that is something that everybody essentially should really have a way to track the fatigue separately from the physical wounds. And I agree, obviously. You know, it's like I'm not gonna sit and no, that's not the case. So I wonder if I could expand this health box, the current health box, and break it up into your current health and then physical damage and fatigue damage. Physical wounds, fatigue wounds. And I probably have enough room here to do this. Again, this is a pretty spacious character sheet compared to what I've seen in terms of other character sheets. For an 8x10 box, I mean, you don't need that much space necessarily to write your current health. It's interesting seeing more rolling. Hey, Alton, what's up? More rolling as it was going on this past game session, and how there was definitely a different feel. Like once it was like, oh wait, some of this is on the line now. There was definitely a little bit more mathematical juggling. Like they haven't even used glory points yet, and glory points allow you to alter the dice. You know, they're kind of like hero points in D&D, newer D&D, and they're kind of like the various forms of resistance points that we have in Warhammer to help mitigate the otherwise really deadly dice rolls. Look at that. Physical and fatigue actually match up pretty nicely there. Greetings to everyone else who's popped on. Got a few viewers going on today. Thanks. Been kind of a chaos day already, having to do a restart with horrible latency. Right out of the gate. Yes, I want to replace it. That's what Command S does. Replaces it. I guess it's good. It asks. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, sure. And focus for Acumen. That was pointed out as well. Oops. Good thing is I can copy and paste. I always think, imagine doing all this typesetting that we just take for granted now digitally. Some of those old game documents and game books where this was all done by hand, all done by manual design. And I've met people who did the manual graphic design back up until the mid 90s. Wow, that's craft. Yeah, guess I did have a. Let's see. That was silly of me. This should be up on the big screen in my. Usually it's reversed. Not to mention mechanicals. Yeah, absolutely. There was a guy the first graphic design teaching job that I had up at Bloomfield College out of grad school. There was a guy who came in who needed to know the digital end of it. He had already been doing it like 30 years. This was in 2002, 2003. And he brought in all of his mechanical stuff one day to show off to the class. And I was like, see kids, this is why when I don't want to hear you complain about having to sit on Photoshop for 3 or 4 hours or InDesign or Illustrator for 3 or 4 hours to get your homework done. Like, this guy had such a skill level, he was doing all of this physically, all of this mechanically. It was crazy. And I think it was good for them to see that, Take a look at the second sheet here. Weapon attack abilities. Armor, possessions, character notes. Mind you, I feel extremely fortunate that I can do all this digitally sitting at home in the comfort of my basement dungeon instead of having to go to a print shop or a design shop and, you know, pay to rent stuff or physical equipment to do this or have them do it, and it would then become, you know, largely unaffordable. Occasionally get these inconsistencies. I guess the focus is almost always there. Okay, so I guess I do need to. Well, maybe I don't need that then. Let's see. Acumen focus, animal handling focus, armed combat, athletics, climbing, concoction, routine, entertain, gaming, insight, intimidate, larceny, languages, lore, focus, and then magic form. Oh, I didn't have a box down there. There we go. Good to do this before I take this out publicly. This is part of it. Perception, combat, traveling. Widen it. Down a little bit. For those of you just tuning in, just fixing the character sheet based on a couple recommendations. Things that people noticed were inconsistent, which is absolutely fine. Part of why I'm running the game. So players can say, you know, this doesn't really make sense. Alright, I think we got it almost toned up there. I guess it's graphic design day, not writing day. It's alright, it's got to be done too. Now I have the fillable sheet to do. That's the one that's less fun. Though still not horrendously difficult. Again, I'm fortunate that I can sit and do all this at home. Don't have to pay someone to do it or inconsistency in type font too, typeface. I mentioned the next big step is going to be to put together basically a playing kit, a walkthrough of how to use your skills, something that I can easily just hand out. I've got one for character creation, which has, as far as other players have said, helped immensely. Save as or export in InDesign. InDesign document, save it as. I guess it's an export. Well, anyway, I've saved it. Character sheet, InDesign, print character sheet, save. Replace. All pages, 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 pages. I think this is a quick export. So. Fillable. Print PDF. Oh, that's template. That's old. I'm not going to delete it yet, though. So I'll delete it. Then I'm going to go need it. Let's see. Print character sheet template. Print character sheet InDesign. Where did it export to? Oh, finished, probably. Print character sheet PDF. Yep, that would be it. See how it looks. Anything weird occurred? Nothing weird. Got the formatting cleaned up a little bit. Cool. One last thing I've got to do. 2 minutes before the con. 2 days before the con. have to do the fillable sheet now. That's the one I'm less looking forward to. It's a little bit more intensive. I wouldn't say much more, but let's see. Character sheet, print character sheet, fillable character, interactive character sheet. That's what I called it. Interactive. Well, this one's kind of a mess. Not really. More of a mess than perhaps my other one. But not dramatically so. Luckily, the fillable blocks are pretty consistent. That's right, I have to do all this. Here I am. Oh, I just rearrange these skills. Oh, that's right. I have to actually do this. So health total, we'll shrink this. I'll have to test this one and see if it works. Health total, current health, and that field. Move these both over. Clicking the right key helps. I really like fillable sheets when I don't use D&D Beyond, or even like the Call of Cthulhu game that I recently ran. I used for NPCs all fillable sheets, and I really dug those. Some people really like it old school. These will, in fact, also work on quite a few newer devices, newer tablets and phones and such. I did test that out. Do the balloons. Could probably have a graphic designer going and really clean this up too, but again, maybe if I get the Kickstarter going, then I'll have the money to do that. But for now, it has to look a little homemade. Hello, McNancy. How are you? Working on character sheets today. Cleaning up stuff in advance of convention playtest that'll be happening in December, first weekend in December. Supposed to have happened many times over pre-pandemic and or inter-pandemic. So ooh, yuck. What was was that? I don't even know what that was. Okay. There we go. I think it was a holdover from the previous document that pasted. I knew that was coming. Try moving this over here. Give this a little more breathing room. Yes, I'll be at PAX Unplugged. We are debuting at PAX Unplugged. I don't have a booth. I'm going to be in the Unpub section, the indie section, Friday night, Saturday night, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and probably just wandering the convention hall the rest of the time and checking out some other stuff on Sunday. I actually was supposed to have one of my collaborators, a former student. Well, he's still technically a student, assuming he's there when I go back. If I go back, I probably shouldn't say that in public. But assuming I return to my work environment, he could technically still be a student. But he's been through life. He's 2 kids, been in the army, whole 9 yards. Not a youngin. But he has a fantastic game that I want to publish that he's been working on. But he has gotten buried this school semester and with some life stuff. And he just unfortunately can't make it. So I actually have 2 more slots that I can probably glom and run stuff in. I'll consider the Sunday morning slot, but too much can be too much. I want to enjoy the event too. It'll be the first convention I've been to now in a number of years. Maybe next year I'll think about, depending what our travel situation looks like and our money situation looks like, maybe Origins or one of those. I don't know if I'm going to do Gen Con. Again, it's so big. Never been to Dragon Con. I've heard it's a lot of fun. Wouldn't mind checking out Dragon Con. I don't know. We'll see. I'll think about it. We've traditionally over the summer gone overseas. I don't know as far as money and travel. Apparently, all international travel as the prices have skyrocketed. We were able to travel twice this year because tickets were just so affordable compared to what has been in the past. But I'm not convinced we're going to get quite that lucky again anytime soon. so if we travel. Greetings. See a bunch of new people have popped on. Thanks for tuning in. I might know some of you. I might not know some of you. Working on character sheets for my game, my role-playing game, that I will be bringing to PAX Unplugged next month. After playtest feedback, we have gotten some revisions that need to be done to the character sheets, so that's in the process. Working on the fillable component right now. Print is done. As always, if you like what you see, feel free to like, perhaps subscribe, check out Fox and Board Games, at the website and at the YouTube. Got some playthroughs of the game up and live. Well, recorded playthroughs of the game. It's not live. It's a weird thing saying, well, I have live playthroughs of the game. No, I have in-person playthroughs in the game of the game. Okay, simple tab. Tab it over. No, I didn't think it was a tab. Not that smart. Let's see. Talked to one of my colleagues from school this morning. Well, texted with her. She's like, yeah, things certainly haven't gotten better in academia post-pandemic. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Let's see. I think this whole block can be moved down a slight bit. Oh, not that whole block. I guess I'll have to do these one by one. I made a joke before, and Lisanne, who's an old school artist as well. You know, I can't imagine having to. So if you're talking about the PAX demo, PAX Unplugged demo, I think really the fact that it's a very different kind of game. When you think of a fantasy game, you generally think of something analogous to D&D, or you think of something analogous to Warhammer, or these sorts of games, or GURPS, or any of these games where there's this very kind of group focused, and this is still group focused, but this kind of class governed structure, challenge structure, that sometimes focuses less on character concept and integration of the concepts into the world, into the scenario. Now, unfortunately, because it's a 4-hour or 3.5-hour playtest slot, I do have to make a railroady kind of pre-generated character scenario where I'm just going to be handing people, or let them choose characters based on, kind of a little write-up. So I don't expect it's going to be a very in-depth concept-oriented role-playing experience, unlike, say, the games that I have on the YouTube channel that they're very much about. I've managed for this scenario in particular to very much integrate the different character makeups, different character motivations, and a bit of the character, definitely the character unique skills and abilities, and allow that to all factor into the play experience, maybe more heavily than, let's say, especially some of the newer D&D where, it's built almost like an MMO that, it was always very much like, okay, you need this class to do this, or you need this class to do this. And that's fine. But I really want to make a game where that isn't necessarily the case. People have said that in a way it feels more like... It feels more narrative, even though the entire atmosphere and even the dicing system's pretty old school. Now, it's also the way I run it, too. I've made it clear that it's absolutely fine to have a game where, you're playing barbarians that just cut through a zombie horde. That's okay, too. If you want to use the game like that, that's fine. I had intended it to be a much more narrative sort of environment, but... And it's a very different kind of world, too. Like I said, it's more... That's one thing the players, even this time, said they had to really get used to thinking about playing in this world that's closer to like an old Assyrian city or an old, an old Fertile Crescent city versus your traditional fantasy game. So they kind of had to really think about that as a different way of interacting. Like the one conversation I had about, laws and the one environment they're in, the gambling hall that they're in, that's, got this kind of organized crime syndicate running it. Like one misstep in there, like your characters are pretty badass, but one serious misstep in there, and it could be really, really, really bad. And in the part of town they're in, there's no one there to help them. They would have been, been a little rough. Now again, I wouldn't just arbitrarily kill them or anything, but depending on how it played out, how some of their thoughts, how they could do things played out, it could have been really, really messy. Messy for our heroes. But I mean, that's part of it too, especially if it were an open campaign game versus a kind of structured set of weeks that follows a trajectory. I'd be like, yeah, go ahead, do it. Go ahead, try to stab the crime lord or whatever. Okay, let's see what happens. Whereas the previous playtest, where it was very moving through the landscape, overland adventure type of scenario, I mean, they were going into small towns and they knew full well their characters could do anything they wanted in these towns and nobody could really stop them. Let's see, so I have the magic form. Focus I have, insight, person find. Are you going to be at PAX Unplugged? It's a good question. I guess I'm going to find out, And again, I've been playing this game with people who know me and who have a very specific idea, and they know how I run games. They know the game that I've been writing. They know my influences. They know to think more like Robert E. Howard than Lord of the Rings, or Michael Moorcock than Lord of the Rings. So I think they already do have this idea. I am going to have a primer for all the players when they sit down. Basically, just a very short write up and a very short narrative introduction that they can take a look at. Now, in this particular scenario, and this is not a spoiler because it's right in, it's right up front. They start out as slaves to a house in the city of Nakarth, a Hapshar house in the city of Nakarth. And the story's called Blood Out of Bondage, and they have a task they can do to win their freedom. So that's the start of the scenario. And I think right there, that'll probably cue people in that this is a different type of game. That it's not a game that, you meet at a tavern and you get hired by a guy to go find something. It immediately starts out that the motivation to succeed is very personal. It's personal to all the characters, and I have a write up on all the characters and to how they got to where they are and their motivations to get out of it. So absolutely. And that's the reality, is that I have to make sure people are going to actually have fun playing this. And I say that in a couple other chats and in a couple write-ups I've done for the game already. Like, okay, it is still a game and we're supposed to have fun with it, And I think that's my job. My job is to make sure it's still actually fun and it's not this academic experience, Because no one, come on, you're sitting at a role-playing game convention. I think the one thing is that both of the intro scenarios that I have in mind, well, one's more combat. That's why I hope to get the other one. I have two. The one I'm running now in person is a much longer story. That's like a minimum of 12 hours of play from what I estimate. But I have another about 3.5 hour shot game that I'd like to get running before PAX. And if I can do that, that one is a little more combat, a little more might satisfy, a little more hack and slash. The current game has the current scenario that I'm going to run definitely has some combat built in because I know people want that. I know they want to see it. I know they want to try their character abilities. I mean, I will make it clear though that is one is it contains adult themes, so people have to be ready for that. And I've kind of put content warnings and disclaimers splattered all over everything I do. And two, I definitely want to make sure that they know the type of game they're getting into when they sit down, as far as the flow of it, the motive of it. I mean, you never know. I mean, I sat in on some of the Blight Realms, the game I worked on with Curzon, when he ran it at PAX, and you had widely different types of players, interests of players, especially where they could basically just sit down and play it for free, and just test it out. I mean, there was one group I remember, I think I said it on two games, there was one group I remember that really kind of got it and got the spirit and they had a lot of fun with it. And the other group was kind of weird, I mean, weird in the sense, I don't know. It was just, there were some weird social dynamics going on within the group, which I won't get into here. But after the game session, the three of us, Neil was also there. We all kind of looked at each other like, that was strange game. And we all gamers are strange, self included. You want normal people, don't hang out. Normal people don't go hang out with gamers. You're getting eccentric personalities. But this group had a really weird dynamic going on to the point that we were all a little just a little uncomfortable. People are being a little odd. Some odd statements were made that were, anyone who knows me knows that can be very inappropriate, but this was different. This was a little weird. They seem to like the game though. I don't know. All right, be as weird as you want. I like the game. That's kind of the fun of things like cons, though, right? Meeting all these unusual personalities, and that's where I met Lasan. That's where I met Neil. I had known Blake basically since middle school age, or just past middle school age. And several of my other current gamers right now are colleagues or former colleagues who are also weird and eccentric, but they hung out at cons too, just different ones. It's funny, we have the guy who's currently teaching one of my classes at the college. He comes up for the Zoom interview, and I just know I'd seen him at a game convention at some point. I'm like, I know you, don't I? He's like, it's possible. So as far as making sure players enjoyed it, I do intend to give out feedback forms. I think sometimes people will be more honest if they hand you a piece of paper and walk away and never have to see you again. And I know this from in-class critiques. In several of my projects, I give critiques where the students write something up and hand it to the other student afterwards, and they're always much more honest. Even if it's not anonymous, they're much more honest. This character sheet's got some wasted space. My graphic design sensibilities are kicking in, and I'm like, yeah, I could use that space, but I also don't want to clutter it. I think the good thing is that even though the dicing system, is a little odd compared to most of what else is out there, I haven't had anybody, even people who aren't hardcore, mechanics gamers, pick it up and run it. And I think that's been pretty cool. Pick it up and play it pretty easily. I think that's been pretty cool. Just got a message from another person I know in academia at a much higher level institution than I'm at, and it's just always amazing when you see them just complaining about the same things we complain about. Like, well, Guess that's academia. No matter how much school money the school has, there's always something you're just shaking your head at, going, "Why would you make that decision?" Yeah, that's probably a really great idea. And it's funny because even having a visual arts training, I rarely bother to do a character doodle, but a lot of people do, and they love it. So that's a great idea. Let's see if I can work that in. Yeah, so and that's one thing that I've really started working with McNancy is really owning in on what the game's about and trying to really make that the emphasis. This is part of my issue, and again, I don't have a huge issue with generic games. I think people play different systems for all different reasons. I think GURPS is one of the better systems ever created. But to me, when I sit down, what I like is that the mechanical aspects, etc., all tend to integrate with the theme of the game. And the character building really integrates with the theme of the game. And I really feel like when I make a character, I'm getting immersed in the game. So I think that's one thing that I've really tried to do with this game is make everything organic to this feel of the game and the concepts. Let's see. A doodle. Now you've got me thinking, where am I going to fit that in? I can definitely fit it in. The player name, hero name, culture, and concept can all be reduced in scale. And this could even be moved down. I mean, I could put it on this very kind of that obligatory second page of the character sheet where lives all those notes that, are essential to the game, but not necessarily even that important to the game. I mean, instead of character notes, I could even put a doodle space. Be a little harder on the digital sheet. I don't know if I could put an input box that'll take scripts, that'll take graphic data. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it. That's probably beyond what I can do anytime soon. But on the print sheet, I probably could. I wonder if there's a way that I could just have a generic photo upload. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important that you know what your game's about. And that was the biggest piece of advice. I got two pieces of advice when I decided to embark on this that really, really motivated me and focused where I was going with it. One, make a game you're going to want to play. Like, don't make a game that you're never going to want to run for people or play. And make sure you really know what it's about. And that's actually the advice I usually give to people when they're working on an art project, particularly a conceptual art project, where I tell them, I say, look, the first thing you have to decide is what is this about? Like, don't be non-committal about it. Like, if it's about, if it's simply about capturing something aesthetic and making something attractive, great, do that. If it is something that's going to be making a social point, great, do that. Decide what the best tactics are to achieve that. Oh yeah, that's right. I don't think I need to do that with this sheet. 'Cause I don't think I can do a drawing with this sheet. But I do think I need to move these over. Let's make sure they all fit on the sheet. And that's what I really, really would like to get through with this is, you know, in this game have this experience. And again, I know that's so much up to the group and the players and the game master. Like I said, I have this really specific. And I was asked that recently by somebody else when I was talking about all this, where they were like, "Well, what if someone takes your game and does this with it, and it's not?" I was like, "Well, if they've purchased the game and they want to play it a certain way or run it a certain way, that's not anything that I'm going to dictate. It's not my job. If they're having fun with it, great." Clean this up, move this over. Actually, since this is more cluttered, I think I can move this up. There we go. More breathing room. I was really hoping that um, Metatopia was in person this year because I find doing this all online, especially for a game that doesn't really have any online support structure yet, to be extremely tedious. But Metatopia is the designers conference, and that's what I was really hoping. But they still went all online this year, so yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not going to complain. If they really enjoy playing the game a certain way or creating another world to play it in or whatever, that's I think that's fantastic. I'd be absolutely thrilled if someone's that invested in the game. Again, I don't do Critical Role or anything like that, but a couple of my friends do, and they were talking about the guy who ran Matt Mercer's world that knew more about the history and was more invested than the author of the world and the famous guy from Critical Role, and I think that's really kind of it's really kind of interesting. us one more look over. I think that's good for now. I get to upload these to the playtest folder and tell the players there are new, cleaned up documents. That was a pretty worthwhile use of time today, I believe. I think that's part of my motivation in going to the convention too. I mean, definitely to get feedback, but also to interact with other designers who are emerging, you know, who have games that are coming to light that I believe would be beneficial to interface with for everybody. Interactive. So I'll put final one finished. Okay, so let's take a look at the PDF. Looks like it's pretty good. Let's see, can I put things in here? Yeah, like some of these health boxes are really big. I mean, I don't need them to be that big. I can definitely tighten up this sheet a lot, but I think for now, especially because actually most of my players are using the physical sheet. They're using the printed sheet. So here's the cleaned up, finished sheet. The big thing that I got out of last game was really to do a physical wound and a fatigue wound chart or a tracker, two separate boxes to track them in, because the fatigue wounds heal much more quickly, heal at double the rate basically, and you can't die just from fatigue wounds. So everybody says, if it's going to be a thing, make it a thing, and let's see, 78, yeah. I think maximum health to start is 20. Upload the character sheets there. Interactive template. Let's see. Oh, it shouldn't be called a template. PDF. Actually, this whole folder is kind of wonky. I'm just gonna remove all that. I just did exactly what I was trying not to do. All right. There we go. Upload the nice new clean versions. Sheet. All right. They're gonna roll it up for today. Thanks for coming on and chatting. Thanks for coming back if you were here when the completely ridiculous latency issues occurred and I had to restart. Like, gee, really? Thanks. I'll do the end of stream spiel. Thanks again for coming on and watching and following and supporting and subscribing, both here and at my other locales. YouTube, Fox and Board Games. At Fox and Board Games, sorry, we have some new stuff up there, some play of the game that I've been working on with my in-person gaming group. Gives you an idea of how it works, gives you an idea of my game master style. Obviously, if you're watching this there, head over to Twitch. If you want to chat live, such as my friends who came on today and did. foxandboardgames.com and at the social medias. For now, at least on Twitter. Let's see what happens. See what kind of implosions occur in the worlds of social media oligarchies. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Fox and Board Games. Follow me there. Though honestly, I feel like most of my real interactions occurring here, but I do maintain the social medias because it is a thing that apparently is helpful. I'm not being sarcastic there. I've been doing a lot of research into new forms of communication with people. I mean, all of these have become extremely commercial, and getting to information beyond the commercials is, it's like trying to watch network TV at this point, in my opinion. So I'd really love an alternative. I don't think we're going to get it anytime soon. But for now, you can follow me there. I've been trying to keep the Instagram going a little more. I know people really like Instagram, so all of that's at Fox and Board Games. And again, thanks everyone for the support. thrilled to be able to do this, and thrilled to have people come on and chat, and follow my work, and hopefully share their work too. So until next week, have a great time.